Hello and good afternoon to all of you present here. This is Udesh Goyal from the Startup India team, and welcome to the next session of Rise Up series, Financial Inclusion through InsurTech. As part of the National Startup Awards, we launched Rise Up series, building from bricks, to learn from different experts across industries, innovations, and domains about key trends and the overall startup ecosystem. National Startup Awards is a flagship program undertaken by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade as a part of the Startup India initiative. The call for applications for the third edition, NSA 2022, has been opened from 1st February. Today we have with us Mr. Sarbvir Singh, the CEO of Policybazaar. Policybazaar, as we all know, is an insurance aggregator and a financial technology startup that helps users to compare financial services from major insurance companies on the basis of price, quality, and key benefits. It's one of the key players in insurtech in India. We welcome you, Mr. Singh. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Sudesh. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, jumping straight to the questions, I think we can start with the questions now. So, insurance as a product has been present globally for a very long time. However, the fundamental business model of insurance companies has not evolved significantly over the years. So, according to you, how startups can use technology right now to bring a radical change in the sector for the benefit of the customers?
So, I think what you started by saying that insurance has been around since actually a long time, and in the modern days, since the fire of London, where really the need for insurance was felt. So, I think insurance is a very important construct that society came up with, and the construct is very simple that few people are impacted very severely, and if everybody contributes a small amount, then the few people that are impacted, are given some help, and they are able to withstand this the damage. So it's a very powerful concept if you think about it. I mean, now it seems obvious in hindsight, but whoever came up with was actually quite, in my opinion, is one of the sort of great modern day inventions, right? And uh, so I think now when you start to think about what technology can do, you can imagine that in every sphere, technology can play a role, right? So starting from how to judge risk, like who should be given what price, what are the characteristics of that person, how should they be paid, how should the claim be judged, the genuineness of the claim, how should the discovery of insurance be, like how should one buy insurance, right? So one is the traditional method. Others could be more non-traditional methods where, let's say, you are buying, maybe you're buying a bicycle. We can give you some insurance with that. You're buying, maybe a house. At that point, you can have insurance. So I think the every part of the value chain, if you think about it, starting from discovery, then the buying process itself, right? Like how do you buy? I mean, a lot has changed, right? I mean, earlier everything was on paper and everything was written. Now today policies are just printed off instantaneously. To the claims process, like how is the claim accepted, and then the most important thing is how do you engage with your policy, right, over time. Otherwise, what happens is that insurance is a very dry subject, right? Nobody is very enthusiastic about buying insurance, and well, it's an important thing, but you will not find too many people who wake up in the morning saying, "Aaj mujhe insurance khareedna hai." So how can you show them some benefits of that? So like if you're a young guy, if I ask you to buy health insurance, you may say, "Yaar, main kya karunga health insurance ka?" But now if I tell you, but you get some gym membership, you get some, you can go to a swimming pool because of that, you can get some health checkup. Now that may interest you a little bit because now all of those preventive things actually help the health insurer also. So what I'm trying to say is that technology can play a role across the chain from discovery, driving the demand for insurance to fulfilling it, and of course for the claims process. So there's a lot of opportunity, and I think now I see a lot of startups in this area, and I think we're just getting started. I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think this area is getting a lot of traction right now. So yeah. So we are moving on to our next question. So data has always been a crucial tool used by insurance companies to avoid the problem of adverse selection and finding the right fit for the customers. So how do you see account aggregators, as in the open credit enablement network, can revolutionize the insurance sector and all?
I think it's a very important step, and we are very sort of keenly pursuing it, and we are trying to stay abreast with it. So as you know, right now the account aggregator framework has been initiated. There are 3-4 account aggregators. We are tying up with them. We are going to start, using them very, very. I mean, we're already using them in some way. We'll start using them even more. So I tell you why it's very important. I think one of the key challenges today is both the quality of data, right? To make sure that the data that we have been given is the right data. So, especially let's take term insurance as an example, which is very important insurance, right? Where you're essentially insuring your life, and it's pure insurance. That if something happens to you, then you will get paid, and if nothing happens, you get nothing, right? But it's very cheap, so you can pay 10,000 rupees and you can get cover of 1 crore rupees or whatever the story is. Now, in that, both the accuracy of the financial documents and the analysis of the financial documents, both are very important. And if you can think about it, the current method where I ask you to upload your salary slip or I ask you to upload your bank statement, those kind of things suffer in both counts. Now, with an account aggregator, all you have to do is come in, give me your credentials. I mean, you give your account aggregator credentials, you give us access to your data. The data flows directly from your bank, so I don't have to worry that there's any problem with the data. And then I can do the analysis very quickly and say, okay, I can see these are the salary credits, this is your expenditure, this is your overall, these are the loans that you have, etc., etc., and this is your financial picture. So it can be done, like I said, without any worry about the credibility of the data, and B, the speed. So I think account aggregator framework will be fantastic for us, and I think for all the insurance players. And we are already at the vanguard of this. We are, working with the current players, and we are just hoping that this will take off because I think this is a fantastic initiative, and I think it will be very good for the ecosystem.
Yes, definitely. I hope this account aggregator whole part gets the equal traction which we got in the UPI section, and it's a bit more successful. So moving on to our next question. So insurance as a product involves building a great amount of trust and loyalty among customers. In fact, every fintech product involves a lot of trust and loyalty. So what are the hindrances that startups face at the launch of modern technologies in finance, and how do they tackle them through innovations? So this is like particular question for small scale startups who have just started up and they want to gain more trust from the customers.
So I think, see, the number one mistake that I see getting made is that, and it's not just for startups. I think both startups and established companies can make the same mistake, which is that sometimes we get overly focused on the technology, right? We get overly focused on, like, let me take account aggregator as an example. See, you can get overly focused on connecting with the account aggregator, doing all those things, but understand that is not the real issue. That is a means to an end. The end is to judge the financial income of the person. So I think similarly for startups, especially when they enter insurance, which is a technical field, I think it's very important for you to understand what is it that you're changing. Like I was giving you an example earlier that there is a value chain, right? So you should ask yourself the question, what is it that you're solving in the value chain? Are you changing for discovery? Are you solving for discovery? Are you solving for onboarding? Are you solving for claims? And then it's very important, rather than just focusing on the technology side of it, to focus on what is the pain point of the consumer that is getting resolved. And initially, you will find that sometimes the technology is not that important actually, right? So as I always say, the first prototype can be done in Excel. I mean, you don't really need huge amount of technology. There can be a human being sitting at the back and doing it, because you're not going to get millions of people on day one, right? But that process will allow you to understand what is so the most important thing, like I said, is what is the consumer issue that you are resolving. Then you should understand what is as is, like what is happening today, and what do you want to change, and test that out, that yes, okay, by doing this I am able to change, and this is of some value to the customer or to the insurance company or to somebody in the chain, right? So I think the main thing is to understand that pain point rather than just focusing on technology. And I think startups can do a fantastic job, because you see what happens is that in larger companies we are focused on so many other things, right? That the changes that should come, sometimes even though we know, see, today many people at Policybazaar know certain things we should be doing differently, but the truth is that it will take us more time to get there, right? Because we have priorities and we are trying to solve for many other things. So I think startups have that ability to say, okay, this is my only focus right now. I'm a small company. This is my one problem that I want to solve. And you solve that problem, and then you can build technology around it, etc., etc. So I think that's the main thing. You must understand the core problem that you're solving, and that always comes from the consumer or the customer of your service, right? And that is the important thing to understand. Don't fall in love with the technology. I think that's the problem that many times happens.
Yeah, so focus is important all in this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
See,
yeah,
and
moving
that's the
on.
difference between a large company and a small company. A small company can take one problem and say, okay, this is the only thing I'm going to focus on. And that's what will make you win, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because your focus will be such that nobody else has that. I mean, large companies will be focused on small, many other things, but you have
Mhm.
only one focus. And I think that purity of purpose is what, if you see, allows companies to do well.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. So yeah, so next question we have is that over the last year we have seen that life and healthcare insurance premiums has increased by more than 20% on an average. So this has been more of an industry level increase after the grave effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So what are your suggestions on how the cyclicity of high and low premiums can be stabilized for the benefit of the larger population?
So I'll say two things on that. One, that yes, term insurance premiums have gone up because of COVID and because of some market structure. Having said that, term insurance in India is cheaper than term insurance anywhere else in the world. It is cheaper than Singapore, Hong Kong, US, Europe. So basically, if you ask me today, the it may be more expensive than it was a year ago, but if you look at the absolute level, term insurance is cheaper than anywhere else in the world. Which, if you think about it, the mind boggles, right? Because our life expectancy is clearly not the highest in the world. So I think term insurance is very, very economically priced in India today because of competition, because of various reasons, and I think everybody should buy it. Anyone who's not buying it is making a huge mistake. Because as you know, in term insurance, when you buy a contract, it remains the same price for the next 30, 40 years. So
Yeah.
it's a really good deal. So I won't worry about the pricing in term insurance right now. On the health side, actually, the prices haven't gone up very much. There have been a few people who have changed prices, but mostly the prices have been pretty stable. So I honestly don't think pricing is a big factor in insurance right now. Having said that, it will become a factor because eventually people have had
Yeah.
higher than usual claims, so they will probably take prices up at some point. And I think if you ask me, the best way to handle it is to segment people, right? And to say
Hmm.
that if you are young and active and physically fit, then you should get a different lower price maybe. And if you are on the other side of the spectrum, then you'll have to pay higher. Which is where I said I think technology will play a role in being able to differentiate amongst all these people, and that will allow people to get the price that they deserve in some ways, right? And actually, what is very interesting is that the industry is now even doing things like that. Let's say you have diabetes, and they are saying that if you because as you know, in diabetes also, if you are physically fit, active, you control your diet, etc., your actually diabetes can go down actually. And people
Yeah.
are saying there are products where if your diabetes reduces, because it can be measured very clearly by your by various levels, then they will actually reduce your premium. So I think I think the feedback loop is very interesting, which is that the insurance company is saying that if you are healthier, we will give you a lower premium, and to get a lower premium, you will become healthier, and hence my claims will be lower, right? So it actually
Yeah.
works well for both sides. So I think there are some products and there are some opportunities in that area, but I think that's the direction we are going, right? As we all have these variables and more continuous monitoring of our health and everything, that can then become in some ways an input into the health insurance into the health insurance pricing. Now, of course, as you know, there are lots of privacy issues and all that, so it has to be done in a logical manner.
So all in all, so health is wealth in true sense in insurance product, I believe.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
So yeah, moving on to the next question. So Policybazaar has been working aggressively towards insurance inclusion in India.
Yeah.
According to you, what significance does rural India play in advancing insurance tech, and how are startups tapping this market?
Sorry, I missed that question. Can you just repeat it?
Yes, sure, sure, sir. So Policybazaar has been working aggressively towards insurance inclusion in India. And
Right.
according to you, what significance does rural India play in advancing insurance tech, and how can startups tap this market?
So, it's an interesting question because one of the things that we have started seeing is that, especially in COVID, so you see, COVID was in two phases. The first phase in 2020 was a bit of an urban phenomenon, actually. It was more urban than rural. But then it spread, right? And then the April, May 21 that we had, that was a tough period and that went across the country. So I think the need for insurance is becoming clearer both in urban India and in rural India. traditionally rural, areas have had their own ecosystem to help manage some of these issues. But clearly now people are realizing over there also that this is not enough. I think the challenge is also a bit of infrastructure, especially on the health insurance side, because hospitals and those kind of things, depending on the region, may or may not. Private hospitals may or may not be available. So then, without that, the insurance proposition is not always clear. But having said that, I think the opportunity lies in creating products that are appropriately sized, because a rural customer may have a different need, may have a different use case than an urban customer. And secondly, in distribution, I think one of the challenges is distribution. While
Yeah.
today 600 million Indians have access to the web and all that, but still rural customers, their consumption habits are different from urban customers. They may not be as used to making transactions and stuff. So I think there kind of a online offline model is required, where maybe you have discovery online and then closure offline and things like that.
Mhm.
So I think yes, there are a lot of opportunities for startups to play a part in this rural insurance penetration, right? That penetration will grow fast. Having said that, it's hard work. So I will also say that startups who want to look at that area have to sort of, you can't sit in a metro city and try to solve rural problems. You will have to go there. You will have to become part of that culture, understand what is happening, and again, I'm sure that so just as an example, we have noticed of late that a lot of tractor insurance, which historically has always been offline, right? I mean, you would expect that people with tractors don't come online as much, but everybody's changing. So today we get a lot of demand for tractor insurance on our platform, and now we've started to come up with make sure that we have policies and products which are suited for that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think India is changing very rapidly, and it's not restricted only to urban India. I think all of India is changing, and people are learning that there is a lot of benefit of buying things online. It's more efficient, it's simple, and it's very clear. So I think there are lots of opportunities, but I think startups have to understand the context, and then they'll be able to develop product.
And so, do you think the unit economics will work out for companies who are tapping the like bottom of pyramid? Like if we are tapping the rural India, so how can we, how these startups can tackle the unit economics problem in this market?
I think the unit economics are so again, you have to think through the target customer. Uh, at the very bottom of the pyramid, the unit economics are very hard to make work. The truth is that, and I think that should be probably left to the government. I think at some level, it's the government which is playing a part, and there are many schemes that have already been introduced for bottom of the pyramid, whether it's in insurance, whether in financial inclusion, in various things. So I think that bottom of the pyramid, very bottom, is probably best left to those schemes and that. But in rural India also there is a fairly significant set of people who are quite whose incomes are quite good actually. So I think it's a bit of a myth that it's only in urban India. See, because urban India has higher income and higher expenses,
Yeah.
rural India has, in many cases, decent incomes and lower expenses. So I think there are big opportunities in rural India, and you have to segment the whole thing. I mean,
Hmm.
I can't just look at it as one area. It's the different areas, and as you know, in different parts of the country, there are different mixes. In some areas, even rural India is actually the per capita incomes and etc. are quite good. So I
Yeah.
think their insurance will play a big part. Now, in areas where the rural incomes are low, I think, frankly speaking, for startups, it will be very hard to make a difference.
Okay, so we have a question from the audience. Mr. Kapil Kumar has asked, how can we use technology in insurance sector with least risk and minimal chances of fraud for the end user?
So I think there are two parts. The way I look at it, let me first explain to you what is the problem. Because there is always a lot of discussion that I will not buy insurance because the insurance company will find a reason to not pay my claim. I hear this many times. So let me address that point very, very simply and clearly. See, let's take motor insurance as an example, right? Which is a mandatory product, and all of us have to buy it. And anyone who has a car or a two-wheeler. Now, if you take four-wheelers, about 16, 17 people out of 100 who buy will make a claim in any given year. So let's call it 15, just for simplicity. Now, out of this 15, even if three people are fraud, let's say, so you can say that 3 out of 100 are fraud, but
Yeah.
then it actually becomes 3 out of 15. So that means 20% are fraud. Now, 20% is a very high number, right?
Yeah.
So the problem for the insurance industry is this: it's not the 12 people who are genuine. People, the product is priced to pay those people their claims, right? So that's not a surprise to anyone. The problem is those three people where the product is not priced and they are now basically trying to take advantage. So the
Yeah.
reason why insurance companies are very careful is because of those three people. And now I'm giving you this context for a reason. And the reason is that if we can eliminate those three people at the point of purchase, then those other 12 people or the 15 now genuine people who will be making claims will not be troubled as much and will not have to go through the hassle and everything. And I think that's where InsurTech and players like Policybazaar play a big role. Where because the customer comes to us first, we are actually evaluating that customer. We are saying, okay, what is your history? What have you done with us before? How much time did you spend buying the insurance? How many days before the renewal did you come? What is your claims history? Which pin code are you from? Is there any other thing that when you have a conversation with our agent, what are you talking about? So we can now start to build a picture of that person and say, okay, this person looks like maybe there is something to be investigated, and these people look fairly clear, and let's not trouble them. So I think the use of technology, use of big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. Because see, what do these techniques allow us to do? These techniques allow us to evaluate every person, because earlier it was not possible to go down to the level of a person, right? You have to look at it in broad brush strokes. Now I don't have to say people who live in Gurgaon. I can say people who live in sector 44 in Gurgaon, and even in sector 44 I can say, okay, this is a high rise building, this person is like this is a different setting, this person may be like this. So I can build personas even within a area. So I think the use of technology will allow us to, at the front end, to weed out the so-called bad actors, and which will make everybody else's journey very simple. So this is just one example of the use of technology. As you can imagine, you can use it in many different ways. But I think this is the most powerful way that we can use it. Because what happens is that because of those three people, the experience of everybody is ruined, and everybody feels that we are being deprived. When in reality, it's not like that. And obviously, when you are trying to find those three people, in the end, you may find some fourth or fifth person who may be genuine, but whose claim may get denied. So that is a very important thing, to stop at source. And I think like there are a lot of things that are possible on that.
Yeah, I think like what we are solving is the adverse selection part and the tail risk which you are trying to avoid with the
Right.
selection of the customers. Yeah, sure. So moving on, so this is my favorite part of every session. So we'll go on with the rapid fire round, and we have three personal questions for you, sir. So yeah, so first is like, what's your biggest motivation every single morning that keeps you going uh, in your life and your career as well?
I just want to improve every day. I still genuinely feel that I can do better than I did yesterday. And, doing a good job makes me feel happy. And I think that that's what I'm trying to do every day. So just do better than what I've been doing and improve myself, right? Learn from somebody or whatever. I think that self improvement, I think, is a key motivation for me.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so which book has been the most influential for you? Till now?
When I was younger, I read Catch 22, and to be honest, that I don't know, it may not be a very inspirational book, but I think it has kind of influenced me a lot in terms of how I look at life. And what, I don't know if you read the book. It's an older book, so I don't know if it's very popular these days or not. But
Can
that
you
definitely.
can you please let us know again if that's possible?
Sorry,
So what's the book's name?
Catch 22. It's by
Cash.
Joseph Heller. Yeah, you
Okay,
can look
okay.
for it. It's a very interesting book. Talks a lot about things, and something philosophically, I mean, in the sense you can read it like a novel, but there's a deeper part to it, which is what I really like about it, that it's not that you have to take it very heavy. It's not a heavy book. You can read it very lightly also, but yet there's a lot of message in it. So yeah, I think that was
Hmm.
definitely. See, I
Noted.
think books, more than books, I think it's the people that I've interacted with who have been more inspirational for me. But yeah.
So any one person or two person which you say that has given you the most inspiration till now?
I would say that it's a combination of people, because one of the things that I feel is that rather than focusing on the person, is the quality of the what quality you should look at, because everybody is human and everyone has certain good points and bad points. So I think overly focusing on a person can sometimes be a challenge. But I'll give you some examples. My father was in the army, and from him I learned a lot about the discipline and work ethic. Right, that every day and every sort of literally every day, and I also learned from him the importance of being part of in the army there's a tradition, right, that the officers and everybody is part of it together. It's not like,
Right.
especially in the Indian army, you'll see that everyone goes, everyone is together. You never like ask, you're meant to do something that you are not willing to do yourself or whatever. So I think that is something definitely that has influenced me. And then over the years, whether it's people like, look at Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or some of these people, you see what is possible, right? That they have been able to achieve such dramatic results, right? Despite obviously being human and following their stuff. So I think there are many such examples in sports. There are people who achieve so much. So I'm a big fan of Nadal. For me, that seeing him, when he came on the scene, Federer was so dominant that it appeared that nobody would be able to stand up against Federer, right? And the fact that he fought through that and has obviously been very successful, I think, is another example for me. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the people who come to mind here.
That's really interesting to know. And so, and moving on to the rapid fire round, the last question is like, how do you spend your leisure time if you get any after all the working hours?
No, I get a lot of leisure time. I play squash. That is my big that's the activity that I enjoy doing the most. I like to play at least 2-3 times a week if I can, or more actually if I can. But I definitely play 2-3 times, and it's a competitive sport. So I think it also, and when you're playing, you forget about work and everything.
Yeah.
See, about work, my very simple belief is that the way things are, right? You can't separate your life between work, family, sports, hobbies, like that. It's everything is part of the equation, and everything is important, right? You can't say that only work matters, and nor can you say that only family or only sports matters. So you have to do it has to be a mixture of both. And I always tell people that it's very important for all of us to have some interest in life, right? Whether it's music, sports, or whatever, and to pursue that interest, right? It's not enough to say कि ठीक है मेरे को बैडमिंटन खेलना अच्छा लगता है, but I think you should play it, right, and try to improve every day. भाई मैं जब भी खेलूँ, I should get better, whatever be your level. See, I'm not suggesting that you have to become national champion or something like that, but I'm just saying it because when you try to do that, right, that helps you in everything.
Yeah.
And it's also healthier because one of the challenges is that uh, and health, I'm not just talking of physical health, I'm also talking of mental health, that you feel more uh, positive, you enjoy your life, because see, at the end of the day, what is going to happen or what is not going to happen, nobody knows. But what you want to do is you want to be able to do things in a positive manner, impact people around you positively, enjoy yourself, because a happy person leads to happy surroundings, right?
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, in my opinion. That is what one should try to focus on, because too many of us try to focus on the negatives of life, because there will always be something negative. Look, nothing can ever be only positive, but it's up to you what you want to see. If you're stuck in a traffic jam, you can either curse the traffic, or you can take it easy and say chalo theek hai, main ko acha sa gana sun leta hu, or whatever. It's your mood, you make your own mood, right? Nobody else can do anything for it. So I think that's an important thing, and that's where I feel that having a interest, a passion is very, very important. And I think yeah, mine is playing squash, but people will, I'm sure, have different ones.
This is really interesting to know, sir. And I think the audience is also loving the kind of thing which you are telling us. And so, moving on to our last question. So, as an active stakeholder in the Indian startup ecosystem, in your opinion, how do initiatives like Startup, the National Startup Award, help the community to grow and get recognition?
So see, I'll tell you, I have been part of the startup scene in India since 2007, I would say 2006, 2007. And I think what has the incredible amount of change that has come about over the last, I guess, 15 odd years, right? And things like National Startup Awards and all, which were, I think, unthinkable 15 years ago and stuff. I think what all this does is that it brings, see, I believe that there are two kinds of people, right? One is the person who already has a lot of exposure and is getting a lot of opportunities, and for them, theek hai. I mean, maybe they win the award, they don't win, it doesn't really matter. But what you guys are able to achieve is you're able to bring that person who doesn't know, right? Who has a suddenly who sees this thing, okay, National Startup Award applies, maybe wins, maybe doesn't win, but it helps them become a more serious startup, right? To understand about the business, because I know that in your whole thing you're also teaching people about, helping them with their business plans, helping them how to pitch, how to do that. And that is the most powerful thing. See, because it's not the conventional. See, the people who are already have studied in good colleges and all, they already have enough opportunities. They don't need maybe coaching. But the others, they definitely need that coaching. And India is a vast country, and I believe the talent in this country is immense, right? It's not that the talent is only from people who go to good colleges or something, right? It's just a matter of chance. Sometimes you get a chance, so you've gone to the right college. But there are hundreds of others who are maybe more talented who haven't got the chance. So I think these platforms help bring those people to the fore, because when you say national startup award, it creates a national footprint, and I think that is the most important thing that you all are achieving. And I personally feel that that's a very very big thing. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether those people win those awards or not is fine. But the fact that they participate, it helps them. See, I also studied in smaller cities, so I can empathize with some of those people. Of course, God has been kind, and today, I don't need any that kind of support. But I feel that when I was there, all these things made a big difference. And I think what you guys are doing is invaluable. And there is no, like I said, there is no monopoly on startups, right? Startups can come from anywhere. And I'm sure you must be having many stories where people have come from smaller cities and other locations who have done it extremely well. So I think, at least I feel it's a very, very positive thing that you all are doing. And whatever little I've seen of it, it seems to be having a major impact.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind words. And yeah, we'll be working with the ecosystem for the betterment of everyone. And yeah, and thank you for having this, such a lovely and interesting session. This has been really insightful, and I believe we all learned a lot about the current and the future course of action in InsurTech. So
All
thank you
right.
so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
How Disha?
Yeah, hi, sir.
Hello.
Next, we would now invite Mr. Charan Patel from Growth Discovery, the winner of NSA 2021 Insurance Sector within FinTech, to share his experience with us. So, welcome, Charan, and I hope you're doing good today.
Yes, thank you. Hope the same with you, and thanks for having us over. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we have a couple of questions for you. So moving on to the questions, how can you bring value to the people who are listening to this session today? And if you can just give a background about your journey and how you have been doing, what have you have been doing in discovery. So we would love to hear from you.
Sure. So, why don't I uh, try and sort of piecemeal that? I'll talk a little bit about discovery. I think we've got about 10 minutes. So, I don't know if we'll need all the 10 minutes, but happy to kind of talk about sort of our journey and with the intent that it might help maybe few more folks to start and their own ventures, and or people who are starting up or are getting ready to scale their journeys. Maybe some insights from our journey might help them as well. So I'll try and talk a little bit about our own journey first before getting into how we can bring value to the folks who are listening on this particular webcast of sorts. So just take about say maybe 5 to 7 minutes to talk about our journey. So I think the best way to talk about our journey is just how we kind of started and to a point of where we are right now, perhaps in a chronological manner. So we are a 4-year-old startup. We did not start we did not start up. The idea was not what it is today. We have kind of taken different shapes and turns and pivoted along the way. But overall, if you look at our story and our journey, it can be split into four broad chapters. The first chapter is really the founding chapter, right? This we are incorporated in February 2018, and the four founders came together. Two of us were from the industry, two of us from completely outside the industry. I'm me being one of them. Had a grand total of 0 days of working experience in insurance, but was very excited about sort of innovating for insurtech, for insurance with an insurtech mindset. Possibly because I personally saw insurtech as the final frontier of fintech, right? Was very excited about, because I didn't know about insurance. I had the luxury of asking very silly questions, and when those silly questions, cascaded and sort of snowballed into some interesting aha moments and interesting insights. That's when you try and sort of double click into that idea and see if you can go further. Fortunately for us, the co-founders coming together was a pivotal moment, or a very important moment as part of a startup journey, as is the case for any startup for that matter. It really starts with the founding team kind of coming together with an idea. And we deliberated on that idea, started talking, back in 2017, finally incorporated in 2018, as I mentioned earlier. And it was about, trying to do something deep for in the insurance space at an ecosystem level with using technology.
Yeah.
The four things, I mean, of all the four of us, what the thing that binded us together was really the aspect of all of us cared about the ecosystem. All of us kind of had a horizontal view of the entire value chain, right? So, my co-founders, Surendu and Saurabh, who come from the insurance industry, had just moved out of their very senior exec roles within insurance companies and had started a advisory company to help bridge the gap between distributors and the manufacturers, right? And then we started thinking about, hey, what if tech were to come in and bridge that, as against just advisory, and where does that kind of take us, right? So we started conversing about that. Vidya, who's our co-founder and technology evangelist, um, she had a view of that technology can make a fundamental difference. What if we kind of connect the dots between these two large factions of the value chain using technology smartly, right? So that was her view, and all of us kind of came together to kind of help make a difference. But along the journey, we started our idea with a view of in 2018, with a view of, hey, so there are these great platforms like Policybazaar, and Mr. Singh was speaking about his experiences and Policybazaar journey as well. And we thought that look, these are interesting brands, but it takes for to build a brand for insurance is not easy. It's extremely tough. It's extremely tough business model. There is no loyalty. Customer acquisition costs are high. Though there is margin on the table, CAC to LTV ratio becomes a challenge as we move along and all of that. And they've done incredible work to build that trust between themselves and the consumers that they cater to. Um, our idea was, but it's very difficult for any platform to do all products and do it at scale. Maybe can we do and it's not about every persona being able to cater to the or basically a brand being able to cater to every persona, right? What if we were to do, say, a policy bazaar for SMEs, SMBs, right? We call it upwardly mobile business owners, right? Because the four of us were not exactly millennials. We had our assets like our homes and car and all of that, and now we are part owners of company as well. So why isn't there a brand that speaks uniquely to us, right? As upwardly mobile business owners. So that's what we started. Our journey was really about building that D2C experience, direct to consumer experience for that UMBO or sort of fully mobile business owner persona. And we built out home and MSME business product there because these are two sort of products that are very under penetrated in India. At the same time, no two homes and no two businesses are alike. So there is a need. Fundamentally, there is a need for curation of the right kind of policy to cover the unique risks associated with each home and each business. So we built that out with a really great classy looking digital front end, great experience, got great market validation, a lot of people coming and visiting, discovering the sort of their unique risks and sort of going all the way until the quote page where all different sort of pricing parameters are shown and then dropping off, right? Basically great traction, healthy engagement, hardly any sales. Then we realized that it is very difficult to scale this model, right? Unless so you need a machinery to help with assisted sales, right? Not just DIY, but assisted sales as well, which is what kind of the models like Policybazaar do, right?
Yep.
To enable that push that needs to be catered from an experience perspective to make the consumer tip in, right? And sort of actually do the purchase. Because at the end of the day, nobody is too excited about buying insurance, right? Nobody is excited about buying insurance. It's a push product at the end of the day and continues to be. So how that assisted channel to push was a clear, I would say, gap in our arsenal, and that was not something that we wanted to scale. That was not our DNA. Our DNA was really looking at distribution using data and technology as a lens, and seeing how can we bridge this experience by using technology smartly. So the year of 2018 was about founding and moving into 2019 where we pivoted, right? We pivoted to not from a direct to consumer to more of a B2B2C journey, what we are today, right? So we are in the third year of our current avatar. But 2019 is where the brickwork was laid, the foundation was laid. We didn't think that it was InsurTech infrastructure is the space that we wanted to kind of build for. What we were thinking back then was essentially, hey, look, we have built this amazing tech, right? And by definition, it is multi-carrier, multi-product, multi-consumer base, persona based. We have built it with an API first strategy, which was core to our DNA, right? So because we knew that we had to have an API first mindset is what was going to be the clincher in terms of our turnaround times, go to market speed, etc., etc. So we said, hey, why don't let's not become a brand because it's very difficult to become a brand, and that's not sort of our journey. That's not sort of what we want to do. If you want to put ourselves, a rest of our lives into this, that's not something we feel passionate about. So what we do feel passionate about is using data and technology to solve the ecosystem problem. So we don't need to be necessarily a brand, but so can we be a force behind the brand, right? So if anybody has aggregated a large consumer base and has a trust, inherent trust, any consumer, large consumer business, if you will, whether it is a licensed intermediary like a bank or a broker, right, or it is a non-licensed intermediary like a mobility provider, e-commerce company, retailer, doesn't matter. Why can't we be the force behind the brand and provide that full stack distribution experience for them to work with multiple insurers, multiple products, multiple distribution channel at scale? The question becomes, why would anybody come to buy insurance in these alternate channels in the first place, right? First of all, insurance is push and all of that. So how do you kind of enable insurance anywhere, which is our tagline of sorts. So there we found that look, nobody can predict the future, and we fundamentally believed in the notion that for to cover every life, we need to hit every touch point, right? Or every sort of node where that life can get sort of covered. Bringing insurance to the masses was really riding on the back of what other, superior brands, large consumer brands have built for themselves, and giving them that plug and play technology similar to a payment gateway. So we said that, hey, if payment gateway, if someone wants to or a business wants to accept digital payments, they don't necessarily go and build their own payment gateway. they work with, say, a payment gateway like a Stripe or a Razorpay. So why can't we build a similar model for insurance distribution, right? And we started coining it insurance in a box, and now it has come to a journey that has taken us a long way in that with that thesis. But we started off on very humble beginnings, one or two partners, one VC, one sort of wealth broker, which has kind of sort of that has grown multifold now. But 2019 was really the year of sort of that pivot that enabled us to kind of set ourselves up for the next stage of growth, which fortunately, unfortunately, was accelerated by COVID, right? So what kind of happened to digital payments on the back of demonetization? We started seeing happening to insurance on the back of COVID, right? So the user behavior, fundamentally changed to protect his or her families and themselves, right? From a health perspective, life perspective. And when your journey with insurance starts with your own health or in your and dear one's health, then sort of cascading things happen and you end up sort of buying other insurance products along the way as well. So that tipping point happened early 2020. So that's where sort of we accelerated our entire journey. We had closed by then one angel round, then we sort of we closed a seed round at the onset of the pandemic, which gave us the ammunition to build faster, better, and grow into sort of more verticals, more partners, integrate with more insurance companies, so on and so forth. So yeah, 2020 was the year of, I would say, where the floodgates opened for us from a demand perspective, and the team was, we were quick enough and agile enough to react to it, right? So as they say, opportunity comes along, but you need to seize it as well, right? So that is what we kind of did in 2020, on the back of which we achieved product market fit, and getting into sort of 2021 and 2022, where sort of beyond the product market fit is where we are into growth movement, growth stage, right? So we closed a series A last year as well to further um, grow faster, right? Reach the corners of the country via different distribution channels. We had an impact thesis. We did think that, for us to kind of cover every life and ensure a vision that no one really gets left behind, we need to aggregate as many nodes as possible. And look, not every partner or every channel is going to fire, but the ones that are going to fire, we wanted to be early, because we realized that this is a model, infrastructure is a model which is extremely sticky and defensible. So which means that we had to get into the right partners very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and that is where we are right now. Whether you call it early to market or category creators, we see InsurTech infrastructure as a category that is here to stay. It is, insurance has probably some of the largest capital pools in the world, and for some reason there is no global insurtech winner. And possibly we think the reason for that is because technology has not played as entrenched a role as it is now to capture enough, uh, value from the ecosystem to become a large business model by itself. And perhaps in the infrastructure is the answer to that, because you're helping both sides of the coin, right? It as an API marketplace, you're
Yeah.
helping both sides of the coin, the demand side as well as the demand side, which is the distribution side for us, as well as the supply side, which is the manufacturer side or the insurer side for us, and bridging that gap like a almost a middleware service between the two. So that is has uniquely, what we found was that is incredible value, right? Because you're touching every touch point of the customer,
Yeah.
from buying insurance, managing insurance, claiming for insurance, all digitally across channels, DIY, assisted, embedded. Embedded is the hot word right now in InsurTech, embedded finance, embedded insurance, and we have a very unique view into that as well. So, the way we define InsurTech infrastructure is with a mathematical equation, with, n cube times three, which basically means n number of products from n number of insurers, being able to cater to n number of distributors, all three fundamental channels of insurance, which is DIY, assisted, and embedded. right? So that is the space that we operate in, and for outside of category creation, we are on a journey to lead this category, not just in India but in other markets as well. So we recently set up shop in the UAE, and UAE is a market that uniquely lends itself to this infrastructure business model. Fair amount of penetration, lack of penetration, dearth of penetration as well on the demand side. New channels of insurance distribution being created, and on the supply side there is fragmentation. 68 insurance companies, 15 billion dollar plus kind of a market. The top eight insurance companies capture more than 60% of the market, which means that we have a finite set of plumbing to kind of do to build critical mass. So that is the journey that we are on, and it's been a great journey. Wouldn't substitute one day for it. There's been a lot of learning, and what we keep telling the team is, look, we're a day zero startup in a day one industry. The reason insurance we call it day one is because though it has been around for more than a century, right, technology is just coming in, right? And we are just scratching the surface. In fact, you just figure out which surface to scratch, right? If you can use that analogy. So that's the journey we are at, and sort of excited about where it goes. And to your first question of how can we bring value to some of the people who are hearing, so we cater to two sides of our two go-to markets, segments as mentioned earlier. One is where we cater to mainstream partners who are already licensed intermediaries from the IRDA. These are your corporate agents like banks, as well as brokers, the broking community as well. And there we play a role of a technology vendor or a digital transformation expert using technology rails, right? So basically digitizing their existing insurance distribution book. So if there are any of such individuals representing those kind of companies who are listening to us, we would love to talk to you. It is a core part of our go-to-market. And the other side is the alternate side, which is essentially those who are new to insurance distribution. This could be from the BFSI community itself, like fintechs and wealth management platforms, and business correspondents, banking correspondents, IFAs or financial intermediaries, advisory intermediaries, so on and so forth. Or they can be from the non-insurance, non-BFSI community as well, like retailers and e-commerce companies, mobility companies, digital companies, ad tech, health tech, edutech. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter as long as you have a large consumer base and want to distribute insurance to your end consumers. We are a one-stop shop, right? We bring all the necessary ingredients, the insurance product, which is powered by APIs, the technology platform, which is a SaaS capability to manage insurance, and policy administration, policy management, reconciliation, being able to cater to multiple MISs and advanced enriched dashboards, as well as a intermediate license as well, to help our partners kind of enable certain products by leveraging our license, right? Where we plug in all the regulatory and the compliance requirements, which are super important and super you know uh, uh, necessary for things to scale in a sustainable manner using our technology. So by definition, if they're using our technology, they are sort of are compliant. So we take that very seriously, and that helps our ecosystem to grow faster. On the back of what we've already kind of experienced. So all rolled into one, offered as a platform, completely flexible. Right now, we are the fastest growing InsurTech infrastructure company in the country. We have aggregated 35 plus insurance companies on the supply side across 75 plus products. Have Right now, across the products that we have aggregated, it caters to more than 75% of the distribution market of India. And on the demand side, or our enterprise customer side, we have working with more than 50 plus healthy enterprise customers, and are growing sort of quite fast as well. So we work with sort of some of the largest banks and brokers, wealth tech partners, VCs, as mentioned earlier as well. and mobility providers, health tech, edutech companies, ad tech, digital companies. So anyone who is kind of in this particular space and excited about enabling insurance to their customers, we would love to have a conversation. We are at hello@discovery.com, and would look forward to hearing from all of you. So Desh, I hope that helps in terms of setting the context of our journey as well as answering
Yes,
your
sure.
question, and happy to take more questions. That helps.
No, definitely. I believe your entire journey actually complements what Mr. Singh actually defined about the current and the future scenario of InsurTech in India. And actually, you are working in the same direction, I believe. So, moving on to my last question right now, how has NSA helped you, particularly in growing and getting more traction? In fact?
Yeah, so it's been a great journey with the NSA team as well, and must take a moment to thank everyone from the ecosystem of the NSA ecosystem, from government entities to private bodies, to startup community, the regulatory side as well, kind of all coming together to recognize companies like ourselves. Very honored to be one of the two fintechs in the country to be receiving the national award in 2021. And it has really helped us by bringing that visibility, right? That visibility across the ecosystem has been great. It has translated into fair number of additional inquiries, people coming back to us and congratulating us, and restarting discussions on the business dev side. Obviously gets a fair amount of investor interest as well when these kind of milestones kind of happen. So overall visibility has been great. There's been some financial assistance from the program as well, which always helps as a fast growing startup. There's never enough capital, right, from that perspective. So even and small and tiny drops make a mighty ocean, as they say. So the financial assistance has been sort of great as well. Outside of that, there has been opportunities to network and get mentored by some great folks across the ecosystem, and that's in its early stages. And we're excited about some of those potential conversations that will sort of only go deeper as we go along. And finally, market access, right, beyond the visibility. So we think we can build some amazing use cases, hit the hinterlands of India and Bharat by working closely with the ecosystem partners, the government, regulators alike, and those kind of conversations are underway, and we look forward to going deeper on that side as well. So yeah, so overall, very excited about where we are, and within the NSA community, and getting a lot of fair amount of attention from the right folks, and I hope that it helps this journey of what we have gone through. It hopes it helps the audience and listeners, and especially startup founders, to kind of apply for the NSA 2022 program, and wishing everyone the very best. Again, we are just a call or an email or a ping away. Not a luxury to share my phone number right here, but sort of if any founder is interested to talk to us to get sort of some views in terms of how to go about the NSA program, happy to help. We are at hello@discovery.com. Please reach out, and yeah, like I said, happy to help, and everyone.
Thank you so much, Ran. Thank you so much for the insights and the journey. And we wish you best of luck for the next steps and the future stays ahead of you. So
Thank you.
thank you, audience, for being present all along. And we'd like to inform all the startups, incubators, and accelerators to apply now for NSA 22. The applications closes on 15th April 2022. So just 10 days left to go. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining this session. Thank you, Chirag.
Thank you, Desh. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.